Hi there, welcome back to the Dylan Rounds case. Welcome if you're currently here in the live premiere, I appreciate it. Today what I want to share with you is a slight update post to do with canine dogs, search dogs, cadaver dogs, etc. Kind of in relation, in parallel to, was it Ron's Tyres, that event which happened where Candice Cooley, Justin Rounds came along and money was raised in support of Canine Unit, whatever the general term was called, right? I want to give an update there from Facebook because there's been not much activity when it comes to online regarding the Dylan Rounds case. You know, people out there can say that they've got information, they've gathered this, they've gathered that, but in terms of officially speaking on the official Facebook site, official East Idaho News page, officially by police, nothing official has come out for a long time. At least acknowledge that, okay? So I want to share that with you today. I also want to look back at the comments from last night's video to acknowledge that. If there's any questions that need to be answered, if there's any additional key information that needs to be shared, reshared, so then the rest of you watching right now can see it visually, okay? Also, want to do another reference because, once again, whenever there's issues, I will document it as I go along. And very coincidentally speaking, from what I said last night, it's happened again. As of this morning, I woke up and I received another copyright ID claim for music used in my video, which never existed in the first place. What was it this time round? It was the same music piece, the name of it, it was the same music, but by a different composer this time. Very dodgy. You know, if you had a single composer, music composer, someone that created the music in the first place, and they've claimed it as copyright, and it happened over and over again over a long period of time, you think there's a level of consistency there, that they own the rights to that music, but on this occasion, it doesn't work because it doesn't fit into the music that I've used, which is completely different to what they're claiming, right? But because the composers have changed names compared to yesterday, it's very dodgy. Someone is desperately, or some people are desperately trying to silence me in the background. It's very pathetic. What we're seeing once again is an endless amount of gay obsessions with warlike wrath, people coming back on their knees. When they say they've gone or when they say they're going to leave, they keep on coming back on their hands. For what? And those that keep demanding or expecting this or that, you know, in the little chat, a little whiny voice, their little default profiles, keep on doing what you're doing, okay? Do what you think that needs to be done at the end of the day. But once again, I'm here to keep the case alive when it comes to the Dylan Rounds case, to share thoughts and opinions, and to acknowledge what other people have been thinking as of recently, right? Not everybody looks back at comments, so if I can bring them forth, then you can see them, and we can go from there. And we are looking at Facebook today, so don't worry, we will be looking at new material besides comments. Yeah. As well as the recent update of someone who's got an obsession with me, which can be covered later on down the line. Now, some people will say, don't cover it, don't do this, don't do that. What I've done for the past 2-3+ years is exactly this. Why should one stop? Why should one stop documenting stuff along the way? It's useful to document things because then you can always look back at it, right? If you need to show it to YouTube or you need to refer to it from another creator's perspective, they can do so. Makes it easier for them. So just keep on doing what one is doing. No harm in there. Any other little heads up? I mean, as I said, the more people push, the more one pulls. Okay? You know, the more someone gets silenced, the more likely I am to continue for as long as I can, providing there's stuff to cover, right? When it came to the Kenny Veach case, one of the biggest failures by humans out there, where they tried discrediting me, taking the piss out of me, you know, discrediting the research, etc., you know, going against multiple YouTube TOS, etc. Did I stop? Did I run away? No. I just kept on going. And they got bored, or they couldn't keep up, lacking stamina, okay? One of those things. Was there anything else to highlight? Yeah, of course. What I would say that's most interesting, and this is an observation on the spot, so for anyone watching or those in the background, just take this into mind. There are a lot of people easily triggered in the Dylan Rounds case. We're talking about fully grown adults. And I can say that because I'm of a much younger age, right? You've got fully grown adults out there, okay? And others much older than that. And yet they don't really set a good example. They're a great disappointment. It's quite embarrassing, to be fair. But, you know, it's just one of those things. So what we're going to start off with first, we're going to look back at the comments, acknowledge them, allow people to join on into this live premiere, okay? And then we can transition onto the latest Facebook page or the latest repost by Candice Cooley and see what's mentioned there. And then we can get into some of the additional messy stuff. As well, if you want to check out my previous video, feel free to do so on my channel. It's easy to find. If you want to check out any links, if you wish to support the channel, or if you want to support the channel, there'll be links down below as well. Feel free to share your thoughts, opinions, and reactions in the live chat on the right-hand side of the screen. And yeah, I guess one thing to acknowledge, shout out to Maria. Big shout out to Maria. I'm going to try to do it tonight. And if successful, you'll be able to see it and use it yourself because of Maria's presence recently on an extreme level in a good way. We'll be creating a second custom special emoji to acknowledge her and in name of her, okay, which may be usable tonight. You will know because it will be there, okay, if it is. As well, I guess shout out to King Samoan because just the way he replies and how he responds to conflict, more so in my chat, it's done in a good controlled way with lightheartedness. Perfect approach that, so that's all good there. And he's got a good they've got a good sense of humor as well, so that's all good. So I think that all aside, let's get on with the comments from last night and let's see how many there are to read. Here we are. Just adjust the comments to the news. I didn't count how many there were here, but I think there's quite a few, but once again, Robert Burger Time is here to contribute quite a lot of them, which is good of him. It's helpful. Although at times it probably makes no sense at all. It's just good of him to share his own thoughts. It's all good, okay? So we've got Tom here saying, I don't have chat again. So it looks as if last night, once again, the chat froze for some people. Let me know in the chat right now if any of you had issues last night, besides Tom. I'd be interested to see. If anyone did have issues, maybe it could happen again once again tonight. As you know, the Dylan Rounds case is a bit toxic, the community is a bit toxic, and there's quite a few bad individuals out there, whether they be directly within the case or outsiders with a past history of other stuff, right? It's just one of those things, a little level of desperateness, little obsessions, you know, etc. They'll do whatever it takes to try and silence somebody. But, you know, I'm just going to keep creating the videos when there needs to be one made, okay? Robert, first of all, says, okay, I post comments at Warlight Ref only. Okay. Okay, so he leaves comments on this video only, the channel. Okay, that's good. Searching for premeditation activity. So are you referring to, you know, was the act of killing Dylan premeditated or not? The way it was worded within the case of Dylan Rounds, although they've not really gotten truly to court yet, but like with the court documents we've seen and the court hearings where it was said that the death penalty was taken off the table because it was under the circumstance that it was a snap mentality, that Brenna snapped, and that's what led to Dylan being killed. So it wasn't planned. If it was planned, then the death penalty would still be on the table. I think that's what was being worded at the time. What I don't understand, though, is that Candice Cooley, in the early days, and still to this day, was really adamant and passionate and pushing the idea that Brenna snapped. It was just on the spot. It wasn't planned, right? Maybe that could have been the case. But all I'm saying is, for Candice Cooley to be disappointed that the death penalty was taken off the table, that she wanted Brenna to, you know, receive the death penalty, then why push the fact that Brenna, you know, wasn't planning it? You know what I'm saying? If you want the death penalty, then don't be pushing it out publicly saying, oh, Brenner did it spur of the moment. You should be trying to twist it slightly. Although it sounds bad, you know, if you want a certain outcome, then you'll may play a certain role in how you say stuff. So you could say that Candice Cooley dug herself into a hole, in a sense, because of the outcome of Brenner. Let me know if anyone else agrees with that. Robert says, Nucor Steel in Plymouth, Utah melts cars down about 120 miles. Right, so does that have any relation to the scrapyard in Lucin, Utah, which is southeast of Dylan's farm? Possibilities, are you suggesting, Robert, the possibilities that maybe Dylan put into some car, taken down to Plymouth, Utah, and it involved melting it, so a form of desecration? June responds, I think it would have to be a closer one, because why would they close down the road? That being said, I don't know the name of it or the road that it's on, and I can't seem to find it, but the people who live in the area know. Right, so the way June is responding here is implying that Robert is referring to that place, that location of a car melting place, whether it be a scrapyard or not, could have been the place which was blocked off the road. But the way June mentioned it originally, that wasn't the case due to the location of it. Bit switching and changing, but we'll see how things go. Robert saying, where was Chase Venstra's scene with orange duffel bags? Personally, I don't know. I have no clue. I've never heard of that before. Okay. Take in mind, at least up to now, a lot of the stuff I've never heard of before, because it's come from elsewhere. It's been talked about on other channels, and because I'm not always on other channels, then I'm not going to know about it. But just as a rule of thumb, okay, as a heads up to people, majority of the stuff I've never heard of before and been clueless to it has ended up as BS, okay, or ended up not being associated with the case. It may have happened, but not with the case. Robert, follow the money. Isn't Larry and Karen Rounds multi-millionaires? I don't know. Does anyone know? Are Larry and Karen multi-millionaires? I think that's a bit of an overstatement. Robert, all the old landowners are departing and leaving property, trust, etc. And they grew up with Micron in the backyard. I mean, you can argue and say they had enough money, a fair bit of money, on top of the fact that they were able to afford that land in Lucin, Utah, right? Wasn't it said by Candice Cooley that they went 50-50, halfway in terms of money? So Dylan paid some, and then Larry did as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. Tom here saying, I'm asking for help from anyone. Does anybody have information about Dylan's backpack or gym bag that Chase Venstra had with him when he was arrested? See, this is the thing. I've never heard of this before either. The whole backpack, bag situation of Dylan's has only come in recent time. Candice Cooley, Justin Rounds, police reports have never mentioned it ever before, about items being found or items still missing. At least from what Candice Cooley, Justin Rounds have said, that Dylan Rounds' wallet remains unfound, still out there somewhere. There was never any talk about a backpack though. But are the family going to know every accessory what Dylan would have out there when they're not living with Dylan at that time, at that moment? They're not going to know. Okay, Dylan might stick to a certain pattern of clothing and how long he sticks with it for, but as for the bag department, you know, he might just pick up one at some point, whenever, right? You're not really going to know. But supposedly, some people know to come out with this talk, right? But this is the thing. If Chase Venstra supposedly had Dylan's bag at the time when arrested, well, how come it was never mentioned anywhere on the news, articles, or anywhere else? Yeah? Because there's no correlation? Can it at least be confirmed that Chase Venstra definitely had a bag with him when he was arrested, unrelated to the Dylan Rounds case? Yes, no? Where's the proof to say that the bag belonged to Dylan? If Venstre had a bag when arrested, how do we know that that bag belongs to Dylan? Is there some kind of DNA report? Was that bag sent to the labs? You know, where's the proof to say that bag belongs to Dylan? Fingerprints, DNA, I've not heard of that either. And at the end of the day, under the circumstances that for some reason Venstre had Dylan's bag, whichever, backpack or not, why would Venstre have it on him at the time of being arrested? It seems a bit irresponsible in a sense. You know, kind of incriminating yourself if that really was the case. We got Ima saying, really? That is interesting. Indiana with a long comment. Everybody brace yourself. Indiana says, I heard somewhere, possibly, Kurt Wadsworth, Chase Venstre woke up after a meth session to find a bag next to him containing someone's possessions, but nothing was said to whose possessions, and that they were but Dylan's bags is a problem because I believe it may have held important transaction paperwork and survey work done on his land, and nearby, according to Kurt Wadsworth, Dylan kept books with receipts and that paperwork, and books could be the real reason behind Dylan's disappearance. Could. That's what Indiana is suggesting. Remember, Kurt said on Candice turning up at Saddle Sore Bar, she went straight to the restroom at the back of the bar. Could she have gone into the trailer Kurt kept at the back of the bar, where Dylan stayed looking for something that Dylan may have left there for safekeeping also? One thing for sure, with a busted-in trailer Dylan's truck busted into, they were looking for something more important other than a gun that they could have got the next day on grandmother Karen bringing down the spare key fob after all that truck had stood there a couple of days totally untouched. Dylan was onto something, and Candice and Justin were right on his tail. Justin needs Dylan to be found. It would help to sort out all the financial problems he and his parents are suffering. Candice, who is in it for the bigger picture, I'm not so sure on. So this has taken a complete different turn on things. Okay, I want to know your thoughts and opinions to all this, right? Do we need to go over anything? I'll just scroll to the top. Just allow you to read it once again. You can pause the video or rewind it back, right? The bit about Chase waking up after a session to find a bag next to him. Right. You said you heard that from somewhere, but you don't know exactly. Possibly Kurt Wadsworth. Wouldn't be a surprise, would it? Because Kurt does talk a lot. But if Chase Venstre supposedly woke up after a session to find a bag next to him, which contained key possessions and possibly to do with Dylan, possibly Dylan's bag, you know, where's the full confirmation that Chase Venstre, first of all, was arrested and had a bag with him at the time? Was that bag searched? Was that bag DNA tested? How can we be certain that it links to Dylan's bag, right? As for Indiana's suggesting how one thing could apply to another, but not 100% confidence, just a suggestion. So I understand that. But where would Chase Venstre be when waking up? Waking up in Kurt Wadsworth's trailer? Waking up in the middle of the desert? You know, where exactly do you think? Okay. Dylan's bag. Important paperwork and documents within Dylan's bag. Never heard of that, to be honest. The only thing I've heard of in the past was, what was it, Candice Cooley keeping track of the books, the receipts, the invoices, and maybe the grandmother helping out at times. That's all I've ever heard, and that was told from the family's point of view, so it could be limited as to why. And you're saying that the bag and the paperwork could be the link to why Dylan disappeared. Does anyone else agree with that? But still, if that was the case, how does that link to Brenner then? Or do you think that Brenner doesn't play a role, or a direct one? Say that Kurt said Candice turning up at Saddle Sore Bar in the early days. I don't remember hearing that, but why would I? Because, you know, I've not been listening into some of the perspectives from the beginning because I came in late. I'm not going to hear about it, right? And as for Kurt Wadsworth, it's just not been of much use. A lot of talk, but not led to a great amount. All possibilities there. Going to the restroom, the back of the bar. So you think that Candice Cooley could have used it as an excuse to sneak out. If she sneaked out, then was anyone watching? Was there any neighbours nearby asking, what are you doing? Why are you going into that trailer? And if so, was Candice Cooley unsuccessful within that trailer, but she didn't find anything? And even if she did find something, how would she conceal it when coming back into the bar? Or would she not go back into the bar and leave immediately? I wonder. The fact that Candice Cooley has not been to Montello since, does that say anything, Indiana? We've heard about Justin Rounds passing on through the area as told by Weezer, Montello local. And that was around the time of when Justin Rounds was assisting in looking for Aidan Clune during that search between, I think it was May 14th up to May 20th, 2023. Besides that, Candice Cooley has not been near Montello ever since. I think she only went down to Montello once, possibly. Justin Rounds has been more than once or passed through more than once for other reasons. So I don't know if that means anything to you, Indiana. Like the possibilities of if Candice Cooley was down there at the time, found something, didn't need to go back. But even if she did find something, it's not really led to much success in the case, has it? Anyway, one thing. So this is where Indiana starts using more confident language. One thing for sure, also known as one thing for certain. With a busted in trailer, Dylan's truck busted into, they were looking for something more important other than a gun that they could have got the next day. Right. A level of urgency. There's two ways that can split off. If anyone's wondering what Indiana is referring to here by they, basically Indiana is saying Candice Cooley and Justin Rounds when they got down there on the 30th of May 2022, that when Justin Rounds with Candice Cooley busted into the back window of Dylan's pickup truck to get inside and maybe search for something. Even now, you probably could look through the window without having to break in. Kind of odd. Candice Cooley said that there was a sheriff or some kind of detective, law enforcement present at the time when Justin broke entry to the truck, and they were allowed to do that. The sheriff didn't resist. So that's a bit odd, isn't it? But that's what Candice Cooley said. So they broke into the truck, didn't find anything, as the story was told, but they were urgent to find out something. And Indiana is suggesting that, there could be a level of suspicion. But that lack of patience is because they needed something besides Dylan. Let me know your thoughts down below. The bit where you say that Dylan's trailer busted in, what do you mean by that? I mean, from the photos that I've seen over time, Dylan's trailer didn't appear busted in. Was the door broken? Does anyone know? Because the way the story was told from, was it the documentary, what we listened to? Or was it, I'm sure it was like a recent video somewhere to do with what Candice Cooley said. No, it wasn't. Let me correct myself. You remember when I looked back at Heavy D's first video on the Dylan Rounds case when they went down there? And Heavy D was like narrating the story, and then Candice Cooley was adding in when she was being interviewed by Heavy D on site at the time in the desert. And Candice Cooley said right at the beginning that Dylan's truck and trailer was locked up when they got there. They said it was weird how the truck would be locked up because normally it would be left unlocked by Dylan. Now, yeah, I heard about that ever since. The truck, at least. But the trailer being locked up as well. So, Indiana, why are you saying that one thing for sure with a busted trailer? What do you mean by that? Are you talking about a busted trailer, the door being broken into? Or are you talking about the side of the trailer or the back of the trailer being damaged? Can you elaborate there? Because as said, at least from the photos, what I've seen, the door and trailer in general looked somewhat okay. The trailer though, RV home, which looked damaged, which wasn't Dylan's, was Ed Harshbarger's, supposedly, which Brenner supposedly had access to, where he supposedly got a firearm from. That's back at the Grangeshed property. And that door was busted and bent and damaged. But when referring to Dylan's trailer looked okay, unless you've seen it from a different angle. But Indiana, feel free to elaborate what you mean by Dylan's trailer busted in, okay? I understand what you mean about the truck because of the back window being broken into, okay? So, see, the thing is, whoever supposedly locked Dylan's pickup truck and trailer did not break in that sense. They used a key and locked up after themselves. Then for Candice Cooley Justin Rounds afterwards, days later, to come on down and, for example, the truck break entry, actually break in without the use of a key, there seems to be a difference, right? A set of people using force and then a person prior to that using a key. It seems to differ, doesn't it, in terms of how entry was gained and exited. And what else do you say here? Dylan was onto something. Candice and Justin were right on his trail. Really? So are you going across the lines, Indiana, that Justin and Candice Cooley wanted Dylan Rounds dead? Are you going along that possible theory route, roughly speaking? Let me know. I know you'll say, I didn't say that, but in terms of the wording, Candice and Justin were right on his trail. On his trail to silence him, to get items off of him, or to take him out for good. What do you mean exactly by that? Let me know down below. Justin needs Dylan to be found. It would help to sort out all the financial problems parents are suffering. Right. I mean, if they... Can I just suggest one thing? If like the likes of Justin Rounds or Candice Cooley or both together are suffering financially, how come they were able to easily put up a $100,000 reward money just like that? If they were really struggling, why put out that amount of money where there's a possibility someone could reach out with intel and then the money would have to be exchanged? Or could the counter argument be, since what we heard over time, that the money was withdrawn, taken back, that might have been done because they were struggling financially, so they couldn't afford to give away 100k regardless. Possibility maybe? Do we have anything else here? We checked that one, didn't we? Yeah, we did. Just wanted to double check. Robert, what does a Kalashnikov sound like?
Kalashnikov EK-47. Well, don't worry. Let me show you its features. How about we go to FPS Russia from YouTube? You test out the AK and see how it sounds. You want to put silencer on or not? No, we don't do that. Нет demo, сука. Сука, блядь. You need to get grip of yourself, comrade. That's bidanie.
See, this is the thing, okay? What happened then? I don't know. Maybe a Russian spy tried hacking in all of a sudden into my channel with that voiceover. Don't know where that came from. But in terms of firearms, at least within the area of Montello and even Lucerne, I've not heard anything about AKs. I've heard about hunting rifles, the hunting seasons, that the ranchers, farmers may have shotguns, whatever type. Typical thing. Same with the UK. UK farmers have shotguns. But in terms of AR rifles, I've not heard about that. Heard about firearms like pistols, handguns, but not to the extent of those rifles. Like fully automatic ones. No. Robert says powerful, not tall. So I assume Robert is making a correction there about Chase Venstre. Was it Chase Venstre? Yeah, got to be careful with who's who because he can get mixed up at times. So yeah, Robert referring to Chase Venstre as powerful, but not tall. So you're saying that Chase Venstre was strong, right? Okay. Okay. Glenn, Once again, shout out to Glenn. Robert, which group of cowboys beat up Chase Venstra? I don't know. You'll have to ask Weezer about that, possibly. Rico, a cowboy gang? Never heard of them before. Is that a group out there? Anyone know? I mean, what about that time where we heard all that talk and rumours of the biker gang all dressed up in the leather? You know, like Spike's little gloves as well for fisting. I don't know at this rate. But, you know, lots of stuff coming around, right? Rico, an XLL gang. Wait, do you mean Rico is an extra large gang? Must have been eaten a lot. Bad boys, bad guys everywhere. True. Was there a plan in place? Warlike Wrath thinks it is true. Was there a plan in place? Right, what do we have here? We've got Air Raider imagery. You know, I wouldn't say a long time viewer, but, you know, they've popped in recently. Let's see what their comment is. So it seems a bit of a long one. So they say, what the F? Okay, so that's not sounding too good. I've been problematic, you say. Please provide examples or proof. I'm extremely curious as to where that came from. Okay. Let's just continue reading it, first of all, just to see the context. Furthermore, you addressed my comment with everything you had to say about TikTok, aside from the point of my comment. Now, I understand why your reputation on the YouTube streets is what it is. I was here watching, commenting, and giving you the benefit of the doubt. But this is how you treat your supporters? Fantastic. No one has to ask me twice to leave. I'll move my problematic self on to somewhere else, where support and civil conversation is considered a value. Good luck, you very, very strange bird. Okay. So where do we go here? Well, first of all, good luck in trying to find another community out there which doesn't, you know, crumble upon itself and implode. But let's just refer back to Air Raider's original comment. So from the looks of it, Air Raider has long gone by now based off this comment, but I'll still respond back just to provide further context, okay? So Air Raider says, I've been problematic, you say? Well, I wasn't saying it in a statement. I wasn't saying it with certainty, okay? If you look back to the previous video, what I did, I said that when it comes to Air Raider imagery, I think at the time he was problematic. A little, right? Keywords, a little problematic, meaning not a big issue, okay? Not the end of the world. Nothing that negative, okay? So one doesn't have to take it too much or too personal, okay? The key wording, though, I said, I think, not that I know. There is a difference between saying, I think this is the case, and I know that's the case. I used uncertain language. Moments of uncertainty yield specific wording, and that's exactly what I did. In contrast to that, times in the past where I said Matt Lingo has been a bit problematic, a bit degenerative, that Dale has been a bit degenerative, that Miss T was a little bit dodgy at the start. I said all that. And in those circumstances, I used certainty because I knew that at the time. Okay? I was stating it. How did those individuals react? Miss T took it on the udders, on the chin. Good sense of humour, and at least on my channel, a good individual. Matt Lingo, at least from when he has been present, and the same with Dale, good sense of humour, didn't take it too direct and was okay about it, but also understood. Dale, at some points, even made a few jokes or comeback lines towards me, which is perfectly fine. Give and take, not the end of the world. See, Air Raider imagery, there's examples of people out there that have been called out in a sense, right, with more confidence in language compared to you, and yet the way they reacted was a lot better and more, you know, I don't know, more sensible compared to you. You're coming up as quite defensive in nature, okay? I think you need to look back at my wording and rethink your choices, okay? Just a suggestion. Anything else to suggest? Take this into consideration, Air Raider Imagery. At the time when Fast Eddie was present and he said, "What do you think of me?" I said, well, to be honest, you're half, how did I quite word it? Half degenerative, half a degenerate, half okay. And he kind of took it in a funny sense. Even Fast Eddie, of all people, an individual at times who can have a bit of an attitude problem or an answer to everything, even they didn't overreact. So I think Air Raider Imagery, you've kind of taken it out of proportion. As for, you know, the concept of provide examples of proof. So, you know, I've got to look back at previous videos, over 300 of them, and try and find that one comment where there was a bit of resistance or disagreement. Is that what I've got to do? Just to prove myself to you? It just seems a little bit over the top. You know, reality is, if you as a person, you believe in yourself, you believe you're a good individual, that you're not problematic, then you don't need to question or doubt anything or show defensiveness, right? Unless it harms your reputation, I can understand why you, Air Raider, would question and qualify the accurateness of what was said or supposedly stated, even though it wasn't stated, because I used uncertain language, which is different to language of confidence. Understand that once again. Yeah, it's interesting. Now, let's just analyse a bit further below. Raider says, furthermore, you addressed my comment with everything you had to say about TikTok aside from the point of my comment. So are you referring to the point of your comment is that when it comes to TikTok, where it comes from China, the way they get all this data and information from users who sign up to TikTok completely unaware of it, like sheeple, unaware that there could be a data breach down the line, that their invasion of privacy is harmed, and yet all these people on TikTok don't care because they're in a little bubble by themselves and, oh, never mind, and then China, you know, advances from there. Is that what you wanted me to say, to refer to? Because what I was clearly referring to, at least with what you were stating, besides that other part about the data, was false. You don't subscribe to TikTok. That's not a thing, right? You can follow someone, but following is different to subscribing, right? You can follow someone on Twitter. You can follow someone on TikTok, but when it comes to YouTube, you subscribe to them. When it comes to other platforms, when it comes to news articles, when it comes to the internet elsewhere, you can subscribe to stuff. Sometimes it's free. Other times it's a monthly subscription. In a sense, even though it's not worded like that, channel membership. You can join, but it's not worded as you can subscribe. You are joining a membership, which involves a monthly payment plan, right? It's worded differently on all these different platforms. So Air Raider Imagery, I think you need to reflect on yourself when it comes to language and wording, because it does differ from platform to platform, okay? It is an easy mistake to make from majority of humans out there. At least from my point of view, I do have a bit more depth and experience in those fields because I have been on different platforms, okay? As for me, at least, if you want a bit further backstory regarding TikTok, have I had any bad experiences? You know, any consequences of my actions of joining despite it being a questionable platform? The fact that TikTok is banned in India, etc., and maybe some other places too. I've not had any negative experiences up to now. And if I do down the line, I'm not going to whinge or whine because it was my choice to join TikTok in the first place. It was my choice to decide to go onto a different platform to spread awareness about a missing person case, whilst other people are getting easily offended, triggered, and whinging and whining upon my channel and then running off elsewhere to their master or daddy to spread the word. Yeah. Some of us are more busy than others, okay? It's just one of those things. Anything else to highlight or you want me to address? So the fact that you say, now I understand why your reputation on the YouTube streets is what it is. That's a reference in terms of a negative way. What Air Raider imagery here is acknowledging that all the call-outs all the call-outs towards Warlike Wrath, all the people from afar, the Jim Terry supporters, the Salty Pancake hardliners, some of the Candice Cooley individuals, where they've called me out in a negative way. Not so much insults, but questioning my ability on the case or what I'm all about. Air Raider imagery is all of a sudden acknowledging what's said by all those people negatively as true. And they can see why now, supposedly because of the way I've treated Air Raider imagery, even though I did use specific language of a certain nature which Air Raider didn't pick up at the time. So there is confusion, misunderstanding, misunderstanding leads to tension, tension leads to conflict, conflict leads to not a great end or outcome. It's unfortunate, but, you know, I'm just simply clearing the mess up as we go along here, okay? So anything else to acknowledge? It's where Air Raider says, oh, I can see your reputation within the YouTube streets. Now, I'll be honest with you, the wording YouTube streets is some of the most cringiest language I have ever seen. YouTube streets, what on earth are you talking about? You're making it sound like the red light district of prostitution. What the hell is this? Am I on the alleyway sidewalk with my legs spread saying, oh, come here and see what you can find? No, we're not doing whack-a-mole with a carrot. No, we're not planting vegetables into the ground and seeing how deep we can go. We're not even unclogging the drains and streets of New York City. No, we're talking about YouTube, a platform online. Some consider social media, but not exactly. It's simply a video platform where media can be shared, uploaded, and people can react to it. YouTube streets, that's the most cringiest language I've ever heard. And it's not exactly correct wording either. And I've seen a couple of true crime individuals use that language. Typical sheepish, degenerative language. But that aside, anything else to refer to here? Right, so giving you the benefit of the doubt, but this is how you treat your supporters? So you're making it seem like I'm doing you a favour to begin with. Okay. How I treat my supporters. How I treat my supporters? Well, the way I've treated my supporters that have actually contributed, okay, actually given super chats, people who have actually joined as a member and not been gifted it, okay, I'm also more focused in acknowledgement to the people that have given super chats and some that have given reoccurring ones. I have most definitely acknowledged that. At times where other people have complained about it, I have gone above and beyond to acknowledge those people. Hence why you see custom created exclusive premium emojis in the name of the individuals, such as Cleo, the playful witch. I've created the custom witch hat in honor of her. In terms of Watcher of Crazy, I've acknowledged her support in the name of my chest muscle, my nips, and even my back muscle as a custom premium emoji. As for Maria, I've done the same for her, creating a custom sticker bomb of teddy bears, including an upcoming latest one of Bundy, okay? I've done it over and over. I've done the same with ZX0. I've created a custom emoji for him in honor of his support to the channel extensively by creating a custom Mortal Kombat themed emoji. High quality, high standards, high reward, okay? I've done the same for Cut and Shoot, I believe, and it might have even tied in with Sheet Show in terms of the, was it ASPCA or something? To do with dogs and cats, caring for them, that service out there in the US. I created a custom emoji of that and they appreciated it, okay? I've done that extensively, and this is the reality. I would create as many custom emojis and put in as much effort as I possibly could to acknowledge even more people that have actually supported the channel and not just whinged and whined, but I'm limited to how many badges and emojis I can create. Obviously, the more people that join, the more emoji slots unlock, but it still has limitations. You need so many people to join until you reach the next level, okay? But To the best of my power and ability, I will acknowledge those that have supported the channel, and I've done so ever since. Okay? Anything else do we have to look at here? No one has to ask me twice to leave. Well, no one asked you to leave in the first place. You're making that decision yourself. At the end of the day, you do what you need to do and what works best for you. Okay? So you'll move yourself to a place where there's more civil conversations and considered of value. Okay? You wish me good luck. I don't need luck. Okay? You, a very, very strange individual, and you, Air Raider imagery, is an individual that, in a sense, lacks a backbone as well, easily triggered as well, most definitely impetuous and lacking understanding in keyword terminology and language. We wouldn't be in this situation if you understood my language to begin with. Once again, you've blown it out proportion, just like the other people do out there from other communities. Oh, isn't that typical? Anyway, that aside, let's move on. We've got Ronald Colley. Right on, Rontello. Where you been, mate? Crikey, you been fucking fiddling with the kangaroos, mate. Oh, I feel sorry for the koalas. Anyway, Ronald McDonald says, the Dylan Rounds case has brought people together and tore them apart. It's quite ironic, see? It's quite ironic, that comment just being above this one. But let's just see what the responses are. Indiana agrees. My response, though, one remained as a lone wolf. One begun. One started off as a lone wolf, entering a case of uncertainty, the unknown, not following the boundaries, the sidewalk, branching away into the darkness, thinking outside of the box, outside of the stratosphere, entering the black hole. That's what one did. In the midst of it all, the other humans all around, you know, squabbling like geese and all kinds of stuff unholy. What did it lead to? Not much. My methods were proven to be correct in the sense that you didn't have to follow the script because there wasn't much of a script to begin with. Okay? Yes, some people have tried to follow or manipulate the narrative with time, and however it's gone, I've come out the other end of the drains, okay, and now met with resistance to squash my presence. Did I touch a nerve somewhere? Am I on the right track in some way? Maybe. Anyway, this is the thing. When you follow with the sheeple, you'll all encounter the same, outcomes. Going to the slaughterhouse. Branch away, break away from that, see how it goes. Maybe better off. Indiana, long comment here. Dylan was due to inherit Norma Round's house. This made the family unhappy as the rest of the family wanted the house sold, as the land under it was worth so much more than the house itself. So with Dylan dead, who would be the ones in the family to gain from the will? Candice, for one, wasn't one of them. She and Justin were divorced years ago. Also, Candice and Justin did not make a deal with Brenna to where Dylan's body was to be able for any of the other of the Rounds family to put their claim on Norma's house. And without a body, there can be no movement of Norma Round's will. So it would have been to the family an advantage that Dylan's body was found. If for any reason Dylan is still alive, with Brenna heading to court for the murder of Dylan, how does Dylan then return back in the picture? He can't. If for any reason Dylan is in witness protection, I'm sure the will could be claimed on in private, with Dylan starting a new life elsewhere, with the house sold to give him the funds to start a new farm, but with it Dylan loses his family for the rest of his life. Nothing makes sense. Well, all I can say is I've never heard of this before. Never mentioned. So people in the chat, let me know your thoughts about that. Norma Rounds. Where in the family tree does Norma Rounds sit? Who is Norma Rounds to Dylan exactly? I wouldn't know. But if anyone can explain, that would be appreciated. The rest of the family wanted house sold. Land more value. Possibly for farming. Possibly. Dylan, what? Dylan didn't want that? I mean, part of me thinks that maybe Dylan would be willing to get rid of the house if the land is worth more, in a sense, possibly. Especially if Dylan is into farming and so passionate about it. If he puts farming above Christmases and Easter time with family, then I'm sure he could be cold enough to say, right, I don't want the house. Land more important. Maybe there could have been an understanding there. As I said, I can't analyse too much here because I've not heard of it before, but if anyone wants to add to it or counter it with alternative information, feel free to do so. Let's just see what the responses are. 6 people like the comment, so there must be 6 people that either agree or interested in it. June, in regards to the deal with Brenner, seems very cold and extremely sad. Indiana, well, it has a lot of people baffled for sure, unless it's to the round's advantage that Dylan is not found. June, do we have 2 Junes? Okay, so I've been getting a bit mixed up. Apologies if I got mixed up with the wrong June earlier on. I didn't know there was 2 Junes. So who is the real June? Are there 2 different ones, or is one real, one fake? Are we going through that again? Anyone know? Feel free to clear it up down below. So June, the other one, says Candice certainly makes it look that way. Her bad-mouthing those trying to help and her don't look there. But as a mom, she isn't my favourite by any means. And Justin, well, it'd be a shock. I don't hear a lot of what he is doing, so it's hard to judge him. Okay. Feel free to pause the video or rewind it back. Some, could you call it new information or never heard of before, you could argue. Okay, Ron, I'll tell you the lawlessness in Montello if you listen to me. Deal? I'm Ron Tello. Yes, I know who you are. I've seen you before. Response, I'll listen. Okay, oh, Robert. Robert and Ron. Robbie Ron. Oh, okay. Cleo, thank you. Godlike. You're welcome. Robert, what would that cost me? What? Ron Tello's story 3. Oh, you saying that you're wondering how much Ron Tello would charge if you was to listen to his story of information. Is that what you mean? Oh, okay. So it looks like we've reached the end of these comments. Some interesting ones, to say the least, more so from what Indiana has had to say. Yeah. Anyway, what we are going to move on to now is from the Find Dylan Rounds Facebook page as for what's been recently talked about there. Well, here we are on the page, as said. We scroll down here. This is by K9 Task Force. The individuals that have been responsible in the Dylan Rounds investigation. The search for Dylan Rounds remains. This supposedly is the K9 Task Force, which was used with Candice Cooley, Justin Rounds, and Mob Crew Chris and Texas Equisearch before winter time of 2022. Okay, so you can say they've played quite a big role in the case, and they're classified as a non-profit organisation or something like that. So when money is raised in support of these groups, it can obviously help them out and help them continue doing what they do. But let's just see the explanation here, because I believe it was reposted. Yeah, reposted. So it says, this is just one example of a deployment we did that was fully funded by the donations received from Ron's Tire and Motorsports Point S, Idaho Falls. Thanks to all the supporters, we are able to continue assisting in victim recovery and death investigations for departments that couldn't otherwise find the funding for our resources, but are vital to the ongoing investigation. Thank you, Justice for Dylan Rounds. The reason why they're thanking Justice for Dylan Rounds is because Ron's Tire and Motorsports Point S event, which occurred, I think, June the 11th or July the 11th, one or the other. Could have been June. No, I think it was June the 5th. June the 5th or July the 5th. One or the other. I think it might have been June. And basically, it was an event to raise money, to spread awareness. Candice Cooley, Justin Rounds went down there, did their little talk. The K9 unit were down there as well, giving like little demonstrations, instructing people. You know, like a day out where people can gather. It's a barbecue, people can talk, hang out, eat food, raise money all at the same time in the name of such as K9 Task Force. And I can't remember the actual figure, but Candice Cooley just in round said a fair bit was raised and all the proceedings went towards K9 Task Force. So it was of some success. And K9 Task Force have acknowledged it here in this post by themselves. Okay? See some photos there of the dogs deployed, I guess in different areas. Are these photos to do with Dylan Rounds? I'm not too sure about the background, the backdrop of mountains. Is that Lucin, Utah? Is it Montello, Nevada? Or could it be in a completely different state? I'm not too sure. But they're at least thanking, you know, the Dylan Rounds page, Candice Cooley and Justin Rounds, for them being enabled to continue with investigations and helping people out because of that funding. So it turned out well. Okay. Ongoing investigations. Does it mention anything about the ongoing investigation with Dylan Rounds precisely? Not really. But what about the comments section? Update. All teams and support personnel are home or en route home and preparing to depart later today for the next deployment. Deployed to Montana. K9 Roxanne, K9 Fury, and K9 Compass. Good names. Right, so that's Montana, and I guess that's where the photos are of, Montana. But who's missing in Montana, I wonder? Not too sure. Sorry, this content isn't available right now. Naughty, naughty, naughty. I wonder why. Comments have been turned off. Now, I don't know why that's the case there. Okay, let's just try one more time. There was a response from Candice Cooley, though. So I just refreshed it a few times, exited, entered, and we do have the comments down below. There's only a couple. Hope Dylan found. It's been too long now. Sorry for your loss. Thank you, K9 Task Force. Thank you for all you do. And there's Candice Cooley with another comment, which we've not seen for a while, 18 hours ago. Candice says, thank you so much, K9 Task Force. This is what Dylan's legacy is all about. And I think what Candice Cooley is referring to here is more so the raising the money for the funds. So then these task force, these units, these what do you call it, non-profit organizations can continue doing what they're doing to help others out there who have been impacted, who may not have the correct resources. So for Candice Cooley, Justin Rounds to be in a situation like that at the time, they don't want other families to go through that same thing. So it ties in line with the mentality of the Dylan's legacy for the future of other missing people out there. That's what it's more so in reference to. There is a response. Hold on. Candice Cooley, this is Duchess. I thought that was a cat then, but it's not. Oh, it's Kukla. I remember Kukla. Last time Kukla was a bit cookie, but they said, I had hoped to send you a private introduction. We would be available to walk for your efforts. I think my FB Facebook is restricted again, but felt inclined to say hello before the snow falls. Okay. Vivian. Yeah, Kukla was the one that said they're going to send out their search dog or cadaver dog, whichever, to assist with Candice Cooley in the past, and we saw that post on Facebook back then in the comments section. But the thing was, they were saying that they couldn't because either they or the dog ended up hurting their leg, paw, hand, whatever. So they were delayed. But now looks like they're offering once again. So that's interesting, I guess. But aside from that, that appears to be it there. I just wanted to share that with you just to highlight that money raised in the past, right, went towards the K9 unit for the right reasons, and they did receive the money. So there was no backhand stuff going on there by the family, just to balance things out, to put stuff in perspective, okay? So that aside, you know, welcome to anyone that has suddenly joined, new to the channel or not. Be sure to rewind back to catch up on all the important information talked about earlier on, which you have missed. And let me know your thoughts afterwards. But for those that are watching for this length of time, what I wanted to transition on to now is the latest complications and issues I have faced. Once again, back-to-back copyright ID music claims, which have been falsely done, claiming that music of whoever's has been used in my video, even though their music doesn't exist in my video. I did use music, but it was from elsewhere on YouTube, a copyright-free channel for most part of it, known as CoAG Music. I've reached out to them in the past, and they acknowledged and said I can use their music. And yet you got these third-party people coming on in randomly at times, claiming it's their own when it's not, or others claiming that their own music has been used. But the music pieces are completely separate to one another. It makes no sense at all. But one thing that does make sense is how strange and coincidental things are as of the last 2 days. Within the last 2 days, I have received about 5 to 6 copyright claims on my Dylan Rounds videos. Out of my entire life and performance on YouTube, not once have I seen this or experienced it, okay? For all of the videos to be about Dylan Rounds and only Dylan Rounds, to receive copyright claims, it's as if someone is trying to silence me. And it's as if someone has tried once again as of this morning. I think it was at 0030, it came through. I woke up later and saw it. I'll just simply read out to you what's on screen, and then we can go from there. It says, "Hi Warlike Ref, a copyright owner using Content ID has claimed some material in your video. Your video is live and the visibility settings that you selected remain applied to it. However, it is now either being monetized by the copyright owner or they have chosen to receive analytics about it. Analytics such as views, subscribers, watch attention, attention rates, either. It can apply to anything, okay? This is not a copyright strike. This claim does not affect your account status. Though, you know, some form of limitation, it can still be damaging. If a dispute is sent out and it goes wrong, that can impact the channel owner, right? Depending on how awkward the copyright claimer is, right? But the video title in question was called Dylan Rounds Phone Found, In-Depth Reconstruction of Jim Brenner's Behaviour and Activity on the 28th. Copyrighted content, pizza and drugs. Once again, you heard that yesterday. Claimed by Merlin. Epitaph, however you say the name. You know what's most interesting? When I saw this claim earlier on in the day, the copyrighted content remained the same, pizza and drugs, but who it was claimed by was by a different group of people. Since checking this email at a later point in the day, it's actually changed back to Merlin. It was actually mentioning a different person earlier on, which is very dodgy. Okay. So what is going on? The fact that that video of mine, Dylan Rounds Phone Found, was done, a while ago now, right? And it was one of my deeper ones. It was actually a map analysis, the reconstruction of how things unfolded to do with Brenner on the 28th. It was arguably one of the more important videos on my channel within the Dylan Rounds case. I'm sure some of you will remember that. And the fact that it was copyright claimed, falsely done, is unfortunate and disappointing. But someone or some people out there definitely have an agenda against me and are doing whatever it takes to discredit, to, kind of evaporate, remove in some way that content out there on the case. So it's like people out there don't want progression in the Dylan Rounds case. It would imply to me that anybody and everybody out there that's responsible for something like this clearly don't want Dylan Rounds to be found. That clearly they don't want the case to be talked about public. And they want the case to die down. That's how it appears. Okay? So I just wanted to share this with you. I think one key thing to acknowledge here, this time round, Ty Corbyn's name was not mentioned in the title. Lance Kelly's wasn't. Justin Rounds, Candice Cooley's name wasn't mentioned. None of the names. So does it break down the pattern slightly? Maybe. But still, the theme of Dylan Rounds, a video targeted by a false ID copyright claim, is still present and still a problem. So what will happen? Well, I've disputed it. I've disputed the claim and we'll await back to see what happens next. As said, 100% of the disputes I've done have turned out successful, and so they should, because I didn't do anything wrong in the first place. So what will happen next ultimately? I guess we'll see. But clearly there are some obsessions out there with Warlike Raf, a little bit silly, if you ask me. So yes, it has got darker here because this video has been a bit longer and done later on in the day. Need to eat some food as well, which I'll do in a second. But, you know, shout out to all the people that have watched this video and maintained watching. That's all good, you know, maintain that focus and understand. I do feel ultimately that there'll be at least one more additional prick in the chat somewhere. And if not there, or in addition, there will be a prick in the comment section as well, which will have something to say. But, you know, at the end of the day, the more resistance met, the more likely I am to keep covering the Dylan Rounds case, providing there is something to cover, okay? In contrast, if there is a time where it's very impractical or there just isn't much to cover at all, but I'm still encouraged to keep on going, but at the same time it can be at the cost of my own channel and damage caused, then I'm going to be practical and logical about that, okay? I'm not going to force myself to do something I don't want to do, okay? I've seen it over time, the way people have been in real life. Yeah, don't back down too much. And last but not least, you know, my snake might not be out here. You know, the snake's outside. I haven't got it with me. But, you know, the more people, you know, twist and turn and wiggle about, the more I will, you know, tighten. You know, like the snake, tighten, like an anaconda, okay? If you don't want, well, I don't know, I was going to try and say something fancy there, but I think that fell flat, just like Betty's bakery buns, bit flat. But that's it for now. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you learned something new or of some interest. If you have comments, if you've got questions, if you've got grievances, list it all down below in the comment section. I think there is some kind of movement forwards because of the levels of resistance now. It is what it is. And yeah, I'll see you next time. For now, thanks for watching. Goodbye and good night.